We're Mela and Don.
And we've been living in our 40-foot bus with our cats Pizzicato and Mr. Sweetface for an entire year.
Can you believe we've been living in a bus for an entire year?
We've decided to make some changes. We've been reflecting on the last 365 days and thought we'd share some of the growing pains. We thought we were gonna get in the bus and all our stress was just gonna melt away.
Some life-changing moments. I mean, that it really kind of blew us away. Things we've learned.
A lot of braking, super hot brakes.
And how things are gonna be changing for us in the future. I think our honeymoon phase just exhausted us. That's not sustainable. Plus, we'll be answering some questions from you.
Are you going to quit bus life? As we started to think about the last year, we realized there were like 4 distinct phases that we went through living in the bus.
So we're gonna kind of break them down and talk about them. The first phase was just moving into the bus. We spent 2 months living in the bus before we actually started traveling. She doesn't seem to mind at all, huh?
She's doing okay as long as I stay with her.
And we still had quite a few little things to do. We were still kind of finishing up our build while we lived in it. Trying to keep dust out of the living area is the challenge. And that was like a great transition for us, so we didn't have to go straight into the traveling because we just had that time to get used to living tiny.
The transition itself was actually pretty simple because we had kind of purged most of our belongings before that point, and we designed the bus so we could pretty much move right in and live exactly the way we wanted to. I think there's plenty around.
It didn't feel like a huge adjustment, right? Like,
yeah.
We were so prepared for it that it was easy, but it was also really nice to have just that moment just to be living in it and feel everything out before we actually started moving.
Yeah, making sure we understood how the systems work and how we would manage things. Actually, that's one of the things we did have to manage at first is water. When we actually moved into the bus at first, we had the ability to get some water from a hose from my parents' house, and we filled up the water tank, and we also filled up the gray tank with urine slowly. We were showering and doing our dishes in the house, so the only thing going in the gray tank was urine.
And we washed our hands. There was some water, but you know, the consistency was mostly.
Yeah. We didn't film this, but at some point we realized the tank was full and we had no way to move yet for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I filled a 5-gallon bucket 20 times and carried it deep into the woods and dumped it 1 bucket at a time.
I can't believe you're telling them the story.
Well, it's what happened. It's one of the things that was a transit. Like, it made you think immediately, oh, we have to manage getting our water and getting rid of our waste. We got a question from Old Bird 7647. Anything you would do differently about the layout or the design? I feel like it's not anything we can't do in addition, but I'd love to have permanent awnings on both sides to block the sun from hitting the side of the bus.
Oh yeah. I think what we had, our layout is like spot on. Haven't finished the bus completely yet. There's still jobs we need to finish. Like, I'd love to have curtains in the windscreen in the front. We just haven't done it yet. It's just all extra stuff that we just haven't had time or money.
We haven't made time.
Yeah.
And we haven't dedicated finances or time for them.
Yeah.
The only other design feature, which would be nearly impossible, is I'd love for the bus to be aquatic, like a boat, so we could just go out on the water and be away from everything and be out on the sea or in the sound or on a lake.
Dreamy, right? Yeah.
But that's not in the budget.
The next phase is when we started actually traveling, and we like to call this one working out the kinks. It's working out the kinks, right? First day leaving for travel, and we barely made it out of the driveway. We're stuck in the driveway, still haven't left.
Everybody ready to go on a trip?
Is it good?
Everything's looking good.
And then we had some problems.
And it was a pretty silly mistake where we only made it a mile away and again broke down, that we realized we hadn't put enough coolant back into the radiator.
We thought that the sensor was broken.
But it turns out the sensor wasn't broken. The coolant level has just been low, below our sight glass, as long as we've had the bus.
Apparently it takes 32 gallons of coolant.
And we put about 13 in today.
I think that experience kind of made me anxious about traveling for like the next 3 months or so. So it was a super rough start.
We're here.
We didn't overheat.
Oh my goodness, we didn't overheat. So Don had already driven the bus across the country before we did the conversion. But he hadn't driven the bus in 2 years since then. So there was definitely a little bit of a learning curve, I'd say, as we started to travel.
Yeah, not only was there just like a learning curve of making sure I understood my turn radius and trying not to hit things, which luckily we only hit relatives' mailboxes.
Yeah, luckily it was family.
Once we started getting into the mountains, I had not learned how to shift gears. I had not learned how to manage lower gears for going downhill. We made it about halfway up the 34 to the Rocky Mountain National Park area.
We've never done this kind of incline in the bus, so.
Oh, there was a lot of things to learn to make sure we drove safely, and with help of friends helping us out and pointing us to the right parts of manuals, we overcame that. The scariest part was coming down from Rocky Mountain National Park.
This never actually made it into a video because we were actually freaking out so much that we didn't even, like, grabbing a camera was not like something that even came into our heads because it was like a panic moment.
We had come down and I had been braking and braking and braking and braking. We were like losing 6,000 feet, maybe 4,000 feet in half an hour. A lot of braking, super hot brakes. We pulled over and I was like, let's let everything rest. Of course, when you're stopping the vehicle, now the brakes are locking on to the rims.
We have a temperature monitoring system. Once we stopped, the alarm started going off.
Those hot brakes just heated up the tires instantly once we stopped.
Really dangerously hot. So
yeah.
Don ran out with the fire extinguisher and then he grabbed the hose. We still had some water in our tanks, luckily, so he could hose them down.
Yeah, I hosed all the tires and the wheel wells down. From there, we learned about going downhill in lower gears to control your speed so you don't have to wear out your brakes.
Yeah, but we were having some epic adventures while we were learning these things, and Rocky Mountain National Park was like our first, like, this is amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great place. We stayed at we saw elk there, the campground. It was just a great experience. The park is sensational.
Yeah. This working out the kinks phase was also about just learning how to travel. So we were figuring out how to find campgrounds and that having a backup plan is always a good idea.
And then very important, we check the walkie-talkies. Walkie check 1, walkie check.
You're loud and clear, over. Making sure we take note of how much water we have, where are we gonna dump, where are we gonna fill up, when do we need to put diesel in the bus.
We also did a video where we shared all the things we'd learned and what a standard regular travel day for us was and still is. That video will link, I don't know, in the card or in the description below here.
next question is a question that our close friends have been asking us recently a lot too. And the question also came from Omega Walpole, I don't know if that's how you say it, and Nomad Homebodies. They wanted to know, knowing everything that we know now, if we could go back and do it all over again, would we convert a bus again, or would we convert something else, or would we buy something?
I think I would convert the bus again. I think we're so comfortable in it. We designed it for exactly our life. It's very hard for me to think of us living in a small van in any way, especially with the cats.
It's hard because had I known it would take 3 years to convert the bus, well, maybe I would have suggested we do some other things to speed up the process. But yeah, we're so happy in our bus, like so happy living in it, that it's really hard to say we would have converted any kind of other machine.
Yeah, any other vehicle.
Of course, there's moments like that we're like, oh, I wish we had something smaller because we could then go here or there.
And if we would have not converted the bus and got a travel trailer or converted a van, we would be able to have great adventures, and I know we would have fun. But the minute we decide we want to stay somewhere and park for a long period of time, a month, 2 months, 3 months,
sometimes the grass always looks greener on the other side, right? And you're like, oh, that would be really nice to have. Ultimately, I think we spent so much time thinking about what kind of bus to have and how to convert it to suit our needs, exactly what we wanted, that, yeah, it's hard to say that anything else would be better than what we have.
Yeah. Deb and Bob, hi guys, they asked if we'd ever do another rebuild, and if so, we do the same size or smaller.
Well, at this point, I still don't want to do another conversion, but in the future, maybe I would reconsider. I don't think we'd ever do another one this size.
We'd probably try to get a 4x4 van and do a van conversion that we would tow behind the bus. That way we could do extended long weekend camping trips away from the bus in very remote areas. And I think the cats could survive that for a night or two.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think a lot of people who have big buses, like would be the ideal, just so that you always have the flexibility of, like, when you can't go somewhere in your big 40-foot bus, you've always got that other vehicle that you can go off and do smaller trips in, but it's not something we would want to live in full time. So, I mean, that would be like, amazing to have those options. But yeah, and we do talk about other like builds in the future, like a shipping container home or
yurt.
Yeah, yurt, like, so we could definitely build things, but we're definitely not going to become the couple that does bus builds for other people. The third phase was community. For the winter, we headed down to Arizona, which is just such a wonderful place to go meet other nomads and people in conversions and hang out with them and socialize, which was really important for us to get that sense of community.
Yeah, after spending that entire winter there and meeting so many other nomads, full-time travelers, snowbirds, people from all around the world.
Cheers!
Friday and friends.
To Friday and Friends! Woo!
It really felt like we weren't just out there floating in space. It felt like we had some connection.
We were a part of something. And even though we've had a wonderful online community, it makes such a difference to actually meet people in person, right?
Yes, yep.
So it was really important to us because we felt like we belonged to something, and we feel like we have so many great connections of people who have traveled a bunch, and we get so much wonderful like advice on places to stay or places to go visit, you know.
Yeah, or gear or help putting our other solar panels in. At Skoolie Palooza, there was over 800, maybe 1,000 other bus conversions there.
Skoolie Palooza. Where do I begin?
Let's start with the spontaneous yacht party.
No, how about the Onesie Wednesday dance party?
And just getting to meet other people who had gone through this process, and you got them and they got you pretty instantly.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
And we've made such great friends from those meetings.
You just to find your people who get you, because there's a lot of people who don't understand what we're doing.
This phase was also really important because we met up with the other nomads who were very comfortable boondocking.
Our friend is here. We lucked out so good that we got a spot for our friend next to us and us with a view of the water. It's gonna be good.
And when we say boondocking, we mean that we're camping without any connections, no electric hookups, no water, no sewer hookups. We're just dry camping. And our bus is set up and designed so that we can do that for up to 2 weeks or more at a time. By going out and meeting these other nomads in our community and boondocking with them in small groups, we got so much more comfortable with the idea of being out in the middle of nowhere and being able to boondock on our own in other places.
We have some questions about the cats. Allbird again, and Magnolia Vision, Jamie and Patrick wanted to know if the cats are making use of their spaces and how the cat seater is working out.
The cat seater, as ridiculous as it sounds, might be one of the best things we've done.
Totally.
It's better than any place we've ever lived having cats.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought the litter box is the worst thing about having a cat, and the cat seater is great. They love it. I mean, they sometimes just like to go down on the landing because there's a ramp and then a landing before they go down to the litter box, and they just go and take a nap on the landing. It's one of their quiet spaces, and there's no smells, there's no litter on our floors. It is seriously the best thing we did.
It's ridiculous to say, but yes.
And there's a lot of cool things. Like, there's a lot of things we really like that we did, but that cat seater has worked out great. And the cats use all the spaces that we kind of designed for them, pretty much.
Yeah, if you have cats, you know that they will gravitate towards one area, and then they will leave that area and just ignore it for a while and gravitate towards another. And we built enough places. Yeah. The cats just constantly rotating.
Okay, we got a few questions from Earthbound Mystics about cats again. So one of them is, do we keep trackers on the cats? And how important do we think it is? And have we tried catios? Catios is one of the things that's been
growing
on our list.
Higher and higher on our
like
list.
We've always wanted to, and I think Pizzicato particularly would love. I mean, they would both enjoy it. Mr. Sweetface, as you've seen, he loves to go on adventure outside. Pizzicato, I think she would prefer to be an indoor cat, but she also doesn't like being left out. So she wants to come outside if everybody comes outside, so she's not alone. But I feel like that would be a great way where she could come outside, but she's still got that safety and security of still being within her home.
And then trackers, we have chips on them. We don't have collars on them. So if they're found and scanned, we'll get a phone call as to where they're at. But we've
thought about the trackers, but we decided not to at this point. I think it's important if you're going to let your cat run around a little more freely than we do. We've always got the cats on the leash, so we're keeping them in our eyesight, and we're not ever letting them get out of their leashes.
Yeah, and it's even part of our routine. Like, we do cat checks on travel days.
Yeah, we're constantly checking, making sure they're in the bus. Yep. So I don't know that it is necessary for us the way our cats are, but if you're letting your cat roam, 100% I'd get a tracker.
Yeah.
Hi, buddy. How you doing? The fourth phase, we calling the honeymoon phase. We've like figured everything out. We just went out and did exactly what we wanted to see. Everything we've been excited to see.
Just one destination after another. It was
exciting. And it was also exhausting.
We wore ourselves out till we hit Sequoia, Kings Canyon, Yosemite. And then Mela wanted to get to her happy spot, the beach. So we went up to Mendocino, Fort Bragg area at the central part of the coast of California.
Traveling all the way up through the Oregon coast, getting in a lot of beach time. We ended off our Oregon coast trip in Astoria at the end of the line. It was a lot of fun, but by that point we were also really tired because we had moved so fast. We had no choice. We had to keep moving. If you saw the videos, you probably know why. And well, we didn't really film a full video in Astoria, but we did get out and do a little bit of adventuring. And if you want to see what we got up to in Astoria, there is a bonus video just for the Rehabit Tribe.
The Rehabit Tribe is a group on Patreon of our patrons that financially contribute and help us keep videos coming out for you guys.
First you gotta do the truffle shuffle.
Oh, come on!
Do it! And in exchange, we get bonus videos out to you for giving us that monthly support.
We'll include links to Patreon so you can learn all about the Rehabit Tribe first thing below.
Each and every phase that we went through felt very necessary, like we needed to go through each one, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
But I feel like now with all that experience of each of those different phases, we've learned some things.
Question came from Don Shover, who asked how many states we visited during the year in the bus.
Well, of course, Ohio. We drove through Kentucky, but Mela said...
But Mela says it doesn't count because we didn't stay there.
Right, and we stayed at a winery, went to Iowa, stayed at a park, went to Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota, New Mexico, California, Oregon, and now
we're in the great state of Washington. So we were in 14 states that we've stayed the night.
What does that make, 10?
Yep.
10 of like spending a certain amount of time in? Yeah, so do you think, is that more than you thought we would do in a year or less?
It's actually more than I thought we would do because I thought we would travel slower.
I did too. I didn't think we'd go to so many states in a year.
Yeah.
Lizelle wants to know what is our favorite place so far. That's really tough. I think what stands out is like the most breathtaking, or I should say the most spectacular, was Lake Tahoe. I mean, it really kind of blew us away. But we didn't spend a ton of time there, so it's also hard to call it my favorite, because there's been other favorite moments where we've spent time really getting to know a place or doing a bunch of things.
And the more we travel, the more I feel like sometimes the place is great for us both to experience and explore, but honestly the things I'm the most excited about are being in an area that will be really cool and meeting up with people that we just can't wait to see or hang out with.
Yeah, so you'd choose the company over the places?
No, I think it's the balance between the two. Like, I'm glad we've had so many breathtaking adventures and views, and but if there's a balance of that. Yeah,
from our travels so far, California's been my favorite state.
Yeah.
Like the national parks were just amazing.
Yeah, I think we might have to do another video on our actual 1-year travel anniversary where we'll talk about specific places in more detail and what really blew us away and what we loved.
So let's talk about our expectations of what living in a bus and traveling full-time would be like versus reality, like what was different than we thought. And the first thing is that we thought we were going to be boondocking a lot.
Yeah, like we thought we were gonna get out and just be in the wilderness like 90% of the time.
That was what we wanted, and it worked out great in Arizona. And then when we reached phase 4, it didn't really work out that way.
Yeah, I think because of our choice of routes and speed of travel.
We chose to go exactly where we wanted to go and then realized, but there's so little free camping.
Another expectation versus reality is we thought we were gonna get in the bus and all our stress was just gonna melt away.
Well, I don't think it was that simple, but
Well,
yeah.
for me, that was my expectation.
We were trying to simplify our lives, and in a lot of ways we have, and you know, we've left behind the 9 to 5, not that that was a huge reality in our life before, but we've left certain sort of regular responsibilities that you have with a house, and a regular 9 to 5 job, but you take on other stresses in this lifestyle, and we didn't realize just how stressful they were going to be.
Yeah, how stressful it can be. I think the way I kind of see it is we've just swapped some responsibilities. We don't have to mow the yard, but we do need to spend like an hour and a half to make sure that the bus can go down all the roads for our travel days. We don't have to worry about our electric bill, but we need to make sure our solar panels are clean. There's all kinds of give and take, and it didn't just relieve our responsibilities or reduce our stress.
We spent a lot of time planning out where we're gonna stay, what route we're gonna take, monitoring our water, when are we gonna be able to fill up again. And it's a lot. It is a lot that you end up taking on. There is a lot of stress that goes into, like, where are you gonna sleep next week? You know, and not that we stress about it and worry about it constantly, it's just something that you have to always be doing.
Yeah, and I think because of our experience over the last year, we've decided to make some changes. And we'll tell you about those in just a minute because we got some questions that we got from people who watch the channel and from friends on Instagram. We wanted to make sure and answer those, and then we'll tell you what we think our big changes are going to be for next year. Nomad Homebodies asked, what do you like most about the lifestyle and what do you miss most about the previous life? I'm not much of a misser kind of a person, so that I don't think I can answer that question.
I can.
Okay.
I miss my hairdresser from LA. Sabrina, if you're watching, I miss you. I need a haircut really bad, and it's really hard when you're in little towns to try to find a hairdresser that you don't know if it's gonna be any good. I miss Jade, my body worker. She was my friend, and I miss her. Yeah, I miss my people. I miss our osteopath, because you don't have your people. I've been away from friends and family so much that that's like not a new thing to me.
Probably the biggest thing I love very temperate climates. Not too cold, not too hot, and we've gotten it in spades this year.
I love the freedom.
Yeah.
It's given us so much freedom to do what we want, and that's why we called our bus Eleftheria.
Howling Wanderers, hi Ash and Jess. How long do you plan to live in the bus before moving on to the next project? Until we find a place, we want to work on the next projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we built it so that we could live in it for many, many years. Even if we weren't traveling, that we could live in it comfortably.
Yeah.
So even if we get to a point where we're tired of traveling and we want to be stationary, we'll probably still be living in the bus. That's the plan. How long will we travel?
We don't know.
Don't know.
And the final question comes from Jeff Castleton. Asks, after 1 year, are you going to quit bus life? No.
We love bus life. We are so happy. We're gonna keep going. But we
Yeah.
are gonna make some changes.
We've been talking a lot about our changes for moving forward. And I think one of the biggest ones is we want to move much slower.
I think our honeymoon phase just exhausted us, and that's not sustainable. It was fun. It was so fun, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah, I think one thing I really want to focus on is we're not living like we're traveling on a vacation. We've got to live like we're travelers, meaning we stay 2 weeks somewhere, we stay another week somewhere, and then maybe we have an actual vacation time where we go to a destination. We don't need to hit a destination every single stop.
Yeah, I think finding that time to just kind of live and take care of yourself is important. And I think we're gonna make some choices that purposefully put us in places we can free camp and boondock. Doesn't mean we won't go into campgrounds or RV parks occasionally, but we're gonna make a decision about where to travel based on finding places we can stay for longer and camp for cheaper. So we can be a little more frugal in our second year.
Yeah.
And of course, then occasionally when we want to go have an adventure, we might need to stay in a campground to get to that particular place, but it's not going to be all about sightseeing and adventures. It's going to be a much more balanced lifestyle for us.
Yeah, we need to make sure we take the time to work on our health, our physical health, our mental health, and that slips away a lot when you're on vacation, as you might know. I think we also want to take time to work on some of our own personal passions and things that we care about. I mean, I'd love to finish a book I'm reading, which hasn't happened because I don't have time.
Yeah, and that was part of what we're talking about, of that we wanted this to be a lifestyle that had less stress in it, and we just felt like we just replaced all the stress with a new kind of stress, and in order to make it less stressful means traveling less and having more downtime.
Yeah. So that probably brings you to the question of, are we still going to do YouTube videos? And we do want to continue doing YouTube videos. We just don't know in what way we would do them or how we would do them, and I think that might be something we kind of figure out as we go.
We're gonna keep taking you along on the journey that we're on, whatever that is. Just like everything else, we'll figure it out as we go along, but we're definitely gonna keep taking you along on the journey of whatever it is that we get up to in this next year of Buslife adventures.